Welcome everybody. This is Jason and today's workshop is called Curvalicious. It's essentially taking WSO actions to start from one size, usually a baseline of Maxis AF, and making it into bigger sizes like Elise here in the title card. So let's get started. What are WSO actions? A WSO action is a template usable in Mesh Toolkit that serves one of two functions. It can copy bone assignments from one mesh to another while respecting the positions of the original vertices, or it can move the positions of the original mesh's vertices to conform with the reference mesh's shape while respecting the bone assignments. For today's workshop, we're focusing on the latter. How do WSO actions work? An action is a set of automated instructions. In Photoshop, we can apply Puklet's Molotov action to a blonde texture and end up with a red texture. The same concept applies here. We begin with an AF dress mesh, apply a body shape action, and end up with a dress size to body shape. I forgot to mention, this is going to be a two-part workshop. Today we're going to focus on building the mesh in Milkshape, and then next week we will see what to do with the mesh once it's been built. Before you start, setting up Milkshape. Before we jump right in, there are a couple of steps that we need to follow to optimize Milkshape for clothing meshes. First, take the two DLL WSO scripts that are provided in the resource post and put them in your Milkshape directory. For me, it's program files x86 Milkshape 3D 1.8.5, but it might be different for you. Second, install the Unimesh plugins. This is important when you're working with any clothing mesh. It's a script that allows you to import and export 5GD files. Those are the meshes that we directly replace the GMDC with in the SimPE. And third, open Milkshape and check that in the Groups tab, Auto Smooth is unchecked, just like in this picture here. Extracting a 5GD. The first step to converting an outfit is to open the mesh in SimPE and extract the 5GD. That's the mesh and the animation skeleton that it's assigned to. We open the mesh in SimPE, we select the GMDC in the resource tree, and then again from the resource list. Right click, select extract in the drop down, and then extract the mesh to your project folder. Next, we open Milkshape. We select File, Import Sims2 Unimesh Import version 4.09. We need those scripts from the resource thread, or it's not going to allow you to import them. We import the extracted mesh. At this point, there's no need to import the blend groups. What that means, you're going to get the pop-up that says Add the blend groups, and you just click no on that. So, have a look at the mesh. Determine which groups need to have morphs. In this example, we can see that the body, that's the pink color, and the no blend, the yellow, are the groups that need morphs. So by morphs, what I mean is that along with the regular state, every mesh has a fat and pregnancy state. We didn't import the morph groups in this example, but what I mean is that the pink part and the yellow part will need to change sizes as the sim gets fat or pregnant. But the blue part, which is also called body, we don't need to add morphs to that. We're only morphing the first two. So, to get started, in the Groups tab, we're going to delete all of the groups except no blend. In the text box, rename NoBlend to group underscore base and then click on the rename button. It looks like this over in the illustration on the left. We just enter group underscore base in the text box, bang on that rename button, and we're good. Then we select File, Export, TSRW Object. We rename the file something you can remember and export to the project folder. Give this a name. For example, I would call it AF NoBlend because it's the base mesh, and this is the NoBlend group. Then once we have done that with all of our groups, we open Mesh Toolkit. Make sure that you're on Auto Tools in WSO tab and the Auto Create Morphs sub-tab. This is important. Then, moving on. For the WSO mesh to morph, we need to select one of the ones that we exported. So we would start with NoBlend here. And then for the reference WSO mesh, we would select the shape that we want to convert it to. In this example, it's Rio. Just like that. And then we create morph mesh groups. We click on that button down at the bottom. So we have size converted all of the groups, then we need to build the morphs. If you wanted to do a reshape of the mesh, we could just reassemble it, and that's that. It doesn't morph, no big deal. But because we need it to morph correctly, we need to take additional steps. So we go back in Milkshape, and this time we import one of the WSO actions that we size converted. So when we import, automatically there are going to be two groups, group base and group fat. So we delete group base and then we rename group fat into group base, just like in the picture on the left. Then from here, we go File, Export, TSRW Object, just as we did before. Now for this one, I will save over the name of the original conversion because we don't need to rename it at this point. And then in Mesh Toolkit, we select the object to add morphs to. So in this example, I've named mine Plunge NoBlend Rio. So we select that WSO, and then we select the template. In this case, I'm using Lifa's AF body morphs template. That's going to add female morphs to whatever you're meshing. So just as before, we load up WSO to morph, the template that we're morphing it into, and we just bang on that Create Morph Mesh Groups button. And then we assemble the mesh. So in Milkshape, once we have morphed all of the groups that we need to morph, in Milkshape, we just delete any groups in the Groups tab so that you're just left with the bare animation skeleton. Now we select File, Import TSRW Object. Just as we did before, we import the morphed and unmorphed WSOs. Then we open Quick Copy Notes from Morphs. I provided that in the resource thread. Then in this example, the first one that I imported was NoBlend. So we're renaming that NoBlend. Just like so. And then in NoBlend, we open the comments and we just paste from body to morphref number 0, those 5 lines. And instead of body, we rename that to NoBlend. We click on the OK and we're done. Then for the fat morph, directly below NoBlend, this is what NoBlend fat morphs into. It's tilde 00 morph mod all caps .1, and we rename that group. And then we do the same for pregmorph, but we name it 02.
Can I just add something here?
Okay, yes.
I've noticed if you name it works if you name them like zero, .0 or .1 instead, but never name the fat morph .1 or .0, because then if you re-import it to Milkshape, it'll like flatten the entire backside of it and make it look really weird. So if you want to use the numbers 0 and 1 instead of 1 and 2, make sure you name the pregmorph 0 and then always do the number 1 for the fat morph.
Interesting. Okay, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
that's a good tip, and yeah, I appreciate it because I mean,
I had an issue a while ago where I like re-imported a mesh to Milkshape, and I could never figure out why the fat morph always broke when I did that. But
wow,
yeah, that was why.
interesting. That's a good tip. Yeah, I mean, because I've done it so many times this way and this is my system, I don't always look at it from another creator's perspective, so that's some interesting insight. So after we rename the first set of morphs, the one for NoBlend, from the quick copy notes, we just in the fat morph, we just paste morph names bot morph fat bot, and then in the comments for the preg morph, we go morph names bot morphs pregbot. The second group base, this is the one that we would change the name to body. That was that purple strip down the middle. So we just rename it body. In the comments, we're going to paste the same thing. Morph names bot morphs fatbot and morph names bot morphs pregbot. You would rename the morphs for body as group 01. So 01 morph mod 1 and 01 morph mod 2. Then we rename the final group body. And referring back to our quick copy notes, we can just paste the 5 lines as we normally would, or the last line, morph ref number. We just delete that from the comments because this is the part of the body that doesn't need to be morphed. And then that is it. That is how we would build the mesh. So you're following along with me in the resource thread. Go ahead and open 3T2 EP7 femplunge underscore AF underscore mesh. We just crack that open in SimPE. We select the GMDC in the resource tree and then again in the resource list. We right click, extract, and I'm going to call this one femplunge AF. Just like that. Then in Milkshape, File, Import, Sims2 Unimesh Import version 4.09. We'll go back to our project folder. Let's grab femplunge AF. Now, if the mesh is already morphed, we're going to get this pop-up. It says create blend groups. We do not want blend groups at this point. We just go no. And if you remember from the example, there are 3 groups here. We have no blend, that's this part, the yellow part of the outfit. Now we have body, and that's just this pink strip here. And we also have body. That's the arms and legs. So at this point, we start with no blend, rename it group underscore base. And we export as TSRW object. If you don't see this option, make sure that you have the WSO scripts. I included those in the resource thread. And let's just delete this and start fresh. I'm going to start off with plunge no blend. Okay. And then just Control Z a couple of times until all of the groups are there again. Now we delete no blend and we keep the first body, the one that needs to be morphed. Let's rename that group base. Export as TSRW. And I'm going to call this plunge body morphed. It's important to distinguish your morph from your unmorphed, well, because one needs morphs and the other doesn't. So we just save it just like that. Then we hit Control Z a couple of times till we can see the arms and legs again. Then we delete everything but the arms and legs. Rename that group underscore base. Export as a TSRW. And we name this one plunge, or I'm sorry, I don't know why I did that. Plunge body unmorphed. Okay. From here, we need to open Mesh Toolkit. Link in the resource thread. We're going to the Auto Tools for WSO tab and Auto Create Morphs subtab. And then we go to our project folder. Let's start with no blend. And here I have my own WSOs. I have provided a link for some of the most popular ones, my directory, Lefa's directory, Mayfair's directory, in the resource thread. I'm going to go to female body shapes, and I'm grabbing Lefa's Rio. So I got plunge no blend. And back up to my project folder. And I'm going to call this one plunge no blend Rio. And I do the same thing with body morphed. Just call that one plunge body morphed Rio. Okay, now let's delete everything from the skeleton. Don't worry, it's still there. Then we import plunge no blend Rio, and we delete group base. Then we rename group fat as group base. Export. Do that right over no blend Rio. Then we can delete that. And then This is body morphed Rio. So we delete group base, then we rename group fat as group base, and then we export once again as a WSO action. And just write over the original file. Okay, now we need to add our morphs. So we start with plunge no blend Rio. And I'm going to my personal folder, but I got links to the resource thread. I go female morphs, AF body morphs. Back to the project folder. Plunge no blend Rio. And I'm going to give it a new name this time because this is the file with the morphs. And then we need to morph plunge body morphed Rio. And let's just delete everything. So we're starting off with a clean skeleton for adult female. Let's import plunge no blend Rio 001. And you can see now it's added fat and preg morphs to the original morph. So that's handy. Then let's import the other group. And the same, it's added fat and preg morphs. Then, as a last step, we need to import the unmorphed. So I have included in the resource thread a text document called Quick Copy Notes for Morphs. I have my own, so I'm just going to open it here. So for the first group, so we start at group base at the top of the list. Let's rename that no blend. Then in comments, we paste no blend like that. Now, because no blend is morph ref num 0, then the morphs for this group need to begin with ~00. So for group fat, we just rename that ~00 morph mod .1. And for group preg, we just change that 1 to a 2 and rename it. Now, let's select this line of text, morph name fatbots. Select our first morph, the fat morph, paste it like so. Then bot morphs pregbot. Open the comments and paste it. Okay, so the second group, we know this is named body, but we're going to copy it from the one group of morph references, because when you create a group, only the morphs for this base mesh can have that number. So if we're creating a new group that also needs to be morphed, then this new group has to have a new morph ref num. So because this was body in the original mesh, we just back out of it. So we've got body and it has to be morph ref num 1. Then we change group base to body. Then hop back to our notes and we copy the first morph name for the body group. So that ends in 0, or it begins in tilde 01, and it ends in 1, so we know it's the fat morph. Then this one, we just change the last digit of that text to 2 and rename. Then once again, let's copy bot morphs, fat bot. Open the comments for the morph and paste it. And then do the same thing for the pregbot. Then let's go back up to body. So this last group is also named body, it's just the arms and legs. So we rename that body. And then we paste the comments, but this group does not have any morphs. So that last line that says morph ref num, we need to go ahead and delete that. Then we can close our comments. So here we've got the final product. We've got the no blend group, we've got the body group, and we have the unmorphed body group. Let's save this in our projects folder. Was it swoop or plunge? I always forget. I'm just going to call this plunge Rio and save it. And that is how you build a mesh using WSO actions.